Hi there, folks. Simon here. Welcome to another 7x7 Chandrian Invitational Tak Tournament match. This time between Abyss and gowellja. Abyss currently ranked, I believe, number 4 on playtak.com. gowellja ranked number 2. Abyss came in second place last year in the Chandrian Invitational Tournament after playing multiple blitz playoff games against NohatCoder. And yes, that is blitz in 7x7 size. It was pretty crazy. So we are just about ready to hop in here. Again, this is a 7x7 tournament match. This is going to be played with 15 minutes on the clock, 20-second increment, and 2 komi. That is 2 added to Black's flat count score at the end of the game if the game does not end in a road. And then also we will be playing, as it is 7x7, with 2 capstones for each player, which definitely changes the game dramatically. So we are ready to jump in and get started with this one-game match between Abyss and gowellja. All right, we see the first move, A7 and then G7, adjacent corners. Will White jump right into the middle? I think that's the best move here in 7x7, but I think Abyss has been going for some more edge crawly moves, sort of the knight's opening. Maybe he'll go for F5. No, going to go for the F4. Interesting. This opens up the middle square for Black, if he wants to take it. No, he ends up going over at F5, trying to cut White off from that initial square. Makes sense. White likely going to switch gears, go for the horizontal here, maybe playing at G4. G4 works in 2 different ways. G4 works for the edge crawl along the vertical axis and works for the horizontal here right along the 4 row. And instead goes for the E4 placement. Interesting. Black following up at E5, ready to go for that horizontal line as well. I imagine we're going to see a capstone from one of these players the next move or two. As we do have 2 capstones, it is not uncommon to see a very early capstone, like on move 4, but we're not seeing that yet. Still continuing in this sort of mirrored opening. I guess a rotated mirrored opening. That's what it looks more like. Black continuing with that horizontal line, whereas White has deviated. Abyss known for taking quite a bit of time at the early part of a game. gowellja comfortably over there at around 16 minutes on the clock. Abyss down to about the starting time of 15. I'm not really sure what White could be waiting around to do. Maybe placing that capstone here at E6. Maybe just placing a flat here or here. Any of those works just fine. I think placing a flat here at G4 or up at G6 would be the best idea. I like that because it's working for the horizontal, but it also gives White the opportunity to cut up and cut off this vertical, or this horizontal here from Black, and work towards the vertical. Now, White has the opportunity to switch gears a lot easier than Black does at this point, and so that's why I think placing a flat here works out pretty well. Instead, he's going to place at E3. Placing an E3 makes a little bit of sense here because he's going for that vertical as well. Oh, and then Black drops the capstone, expecting something to happen along this line. not as early a capstone as we've seen in a lot of these 7x7 games. Abyss, I don't think he'll respond in kind with another capstone, but I think we may see maybe a flat here at g4, or potentially up here at g6. Abyss, known for taking his time again, taking a lot of that time here in the early game, which is fascinating because we just watched some games between other players like NohatCoder and Archvenison who were flying through and had something like 18 minutes on the clock after 30 moves. And so they had gained time as opposed to running down their clock. We're definitely not going to be seeing that today. Abyss does take a lot of time early on in the game and really focuses on those opening moves, probably the first 20, 25 or so, and then is basically out of time. So we decided it was a good idea to drop a capstone here. A little risky placing it along the edge here, but I don't think he needs to worry about this g5 flat going anywhere. He can capture up. That's part of his horizontal line. It's going to be part of his vertical line here if he does capture up onto g5. And he basically has neutered this whole threat that black is building in the horizontal direction. Black's going to need to shift gears here pretty soon, unless he goes for placing a black flat at g6 and then moving the cap over onto f6, something like that. I don't really see too much coming of this horizontal line. I think it's a much better idea to switch gears and go for the vertical at this point. Does go for the g6. All right, let's see. White can continue up here, maybe with f7. Could just decide to keep going for the horizontal threat and place over here at c4. White does have momentum here. Black building off there at g6 allows white to now to build over at c4 and continue on for this horizontal threat. It's not very strong, but it does force some moves out of black. And ultimately white is, black's second capstone coming down here, really strong position, able to come up and cut off white's horizontal threat. Not only is it cutting off white's horizontal threat, but it's also making sort of an initial line for a vertical threat for black. I could see white placing here at c3 to sort of continue. Once black captures up, white can just fill in at d3 and continue that same threat. So I feel like c3 is a pretty safe move here. It works, nothing wrong with that. And yeah, I like that. Playing here just invites this, and then the fill, and then probably another fill here at c3. So I think c3, while a little more cautious, I think is the better move. Again, we are in 7x7, and it's going to be a longer game. We don't see the capstone come down. Instead, we see the flat come down. White probably going to fill in here with either a flat or capstone on d5. Tough to say. If a capstone does come down, I'm betting black's capstone from d3 is going to come up to d4. And then that threatens to come across or come across here and make some really solid positive flat count differential moves. And white doesn't want that. So maybe thinking of avoiding that. But definitely does want something here. I think a capstone is probably going to be what he needs to go for. But it does force that d3 up. Not force, but it encourages the d3 up. And again, when I'm talking about +3 moves and stuff like that, that's in reference to the flat count differential, or FCD, and you can learn more about that in the flat count differential, or FCD video, available on Tak University. And yes, flat count differential does play into how you play the game this early. We're on turn 9, but it definitely does factor into how you play. He is going to go for that c3 placement now. Interesting. Nothing done with d5. I can't imagine black is going to do anything besides fill in at d5 now. That works so well for him going in the horizontal and the vertical direction that I just wonder what else he could be going for. And then also a flat up here. If white were to connect or something like that, or connect down here, make a capture over, then filling in at d3 wouldn't be as big of a deal if that's up here, because then d5 could always just come down and recapture instead. Yeah, I see d5 as being sort of the no-brainer move here, but I think gowellja thinks the same thing and was taking his time to wonder, okay, what is it that I'm not seeing that Abyss did see? But he does eventually go in for that d5 fill. Let's take a look here. Black's in a pretty solid position. I like the board position for black here. White still has one capstone to drop. Hasn't done it yet. Going for the placement. Okay. So he's sort of maybe working on this sort of soft pin for the capstone or the flat here. Probably wants to drop a capstone at c5 and then capture over onto d5 with that to threaten down. And then black's capstone wouldn't be able to come up because that would lead to a loss. Sees that, places a wall here, doesn't allow white's capstone to drop there. Smart play. I like that play. That was a good one. All right, now white playing over at b3, solidifying this position with a really strong citadel. Citadel is one of those terms that we don't use too often, but it is included in the terminology or Tak terminology video of Tak University. And that's just a 2x2. Really strong formation because it allows for you to sort of still attack no matter which one gets attacked. Almost no matter which one gets attacked. So, black now building down at d2, going for this vertical threat. And this wall is in a really great position. That wall dropping there was a really good job to cut off white's ability to drop a capstone there and come over and mess with things. White can still drop a capstone here at d6, but I don't know, it just doesn't seem as strong. But because it gives black the time to bring this wall down here onto c4 and kind of cut off the eventual threat. But I don't know. A capstone here, it doesn't seem so bad to me. Yeah, and he does go for that. Drops the capstone at d6. Ready to come down onto d5. It's clearly the move that he's planning for. Black, I was thinking c5 minus would be the move that he goes for here. He may decide instead to play at d1 and make his threat, force that capstone to come down, even though that's what he was going to do anyway. Not sure. It's a good move, so it's hard for black to defend against it. Maybe he'll bring the capstone down. I don't see that one happening. I think this wall coming down onto c4 would probably be a good play. Or maybe b5. So he plays at b5. This comes down. No, he's going to bring that wall down first. Never mind. A tough position here for gowellja, finally using up a little bit of that time, now below the 15-minute mark. Abyss down just below 11 minutes on the clock. What are we going to see from gowellja? Maybe he'll surprise me and do something I don't expect. But I do expect that c5 minus. White, in the meantime, wants to bring this capstone down to threaten the horizontal, but also white can keep building up here, maybe at f7, down below, go for the vertical by tossing this over to the right onto f5, the capstone eventually coming down there. That could work as well. All in all, d6 coming down is just a really strong move. And I can see gowellja trying to think of a way to stop that from happening. But I don't think there's anything you can do at this point to keep that wall from coming down. And bringing that, or keep that capstone from coming down, that is. Bringing the wall over down to d5 doesn't hamper him at all because it is a capstone again. Tough. He does bring the wall down as expected. Let's see if Abyss makes that capstone move that we all, well, I say we all, that I expected him to make. He's taken quite a bit of time here on this turn, so maybe he's not going to make that move. Okay, there we go. And what's black's play here? Black could decide to play up at c5, just continue this to sort of half pin white's capstone, work on that line, even though that white capstone is going to be able to come down. Let's see, could bring the wall over and keep and force white to make a smash and leave behind a black, but that doesn't do much for him because it's not pinned. And it would just give white access to more white flats underneath that. Black can't bring this capstone up because that would give white a road. White's in a pretty solid position here. All right, he goes for the anchor point up here at e7. Now this works in a couple ways. I like this play because while this does work for the vertical, it also is working for a horizontal connecting to that starting stone at a7. So it's 4 stones into a road threat here, and it's working towards a road threat here, even though that's not really possible at this point because of the white flats and the protectors there. So I think that's a pretty solid move, and I don't think... Yeah, so if white comes down with the capstone onto d4, black is probably going to be playing here at d1 to keep white from making any sort of smash, because that would lead to a road for black if he does do that. So yeah, if the white capstone does come down, you better expect a d1 here from gowellja. All right, b5. Now white looks to be going around maybe, or going up and down for a vertical threat. One of those two works. Both of those two work, actually, so that seems like a fine move to me. Doesn't bring that capstone down, which I think he knew exactly what would happen if he did, so good plays, good plays. How is black going to defend against that? He could fill in at c5. He could keep building along, maybe build up here at b7 and just continue along. this horizontal line and also cutting off any sort of vertical. I think white wants to fill in here at c5, then bring just the capstone down onto d4 so it can come up for the threat. So black's going to fill in here at c5 to keep white from filling in there on the next turn. White now likely going to play up here at b6, maybe go for that vertical and sort of cut off black's ability to make that horizontal threat here. Abyss down to 9 minutes on the clock. gowellja down to 11 and a half. Surprising that they're so close in time, with Abyss having a reputation for spending so much time on the early game here. 15 moves in, and there's only 2 minutes separating these two players. So that either speaks to how quickly Abyss is playing, or more likely to how slowly gowellja is playing. He's taking a lot of time here to make sure he's not getting into too much trouble. And I think that's a smart play. When you're against a player as strong as Abyss, you definitely have to make sure you're not falling into any of their traps. We saw a phenomenal trap that Abyss laid in his match against NohatCoder that miraculously Nohat was able to see, and that I definitely would have fallen for immediately. And Nohat took, I think, 2 or 3 minutes on that one single move. And so if he had played the move that everyone basically would have played, then it would have been Tinue. So Abyss definitely has the power to do that, and gowellja recognizes that. White now playing up here at c6. He looks like he may be ready to just come down onto c5 to continue his same threat that he was going for before. Or potentially just going around. Could play up here at d6 or at b6, and that would just be going around this black flat as well, and then just getting more flats on the board, lowering his reserve count, bringing him closer to deciding when this game ends. Though I don't expect we're going to see it come to flats, not because they're not both strong players, but because, I mean, in a lot of these 7x7 games, I don't think we've seen too many of them go to flats here. We've seen mostly roads. It's just a bit of an unexplored space, having only one tournament prior to this one being played on a 7x7 board. It's just tough to figure that out, to know what to look for in certain situations. So black playing up at b6, making sure white can't play around here. What is the play from white? I'm surprised white's not playing down below or up at f7 to kind of cut that off. Go for the vertical here. Now we're seeing the time widen a little bit, the time gap widen. Abyss down below 8 minutes on the clock, and gowellja up around 10. 2 minutes separating these two players. All right, white finally making that capture. This is where black likely wants to play down at d1. Playing at d1 does keep this capstone from smashing on c4. Is he going to do it? Or does he have another plan in mind? He does go for the D1, keeping that capstone from smashing on C4. What will White's plan be? Will White capture down with C6 onto C5? Will White just place a flat on D5, making that same threat? I think a flat on D5 works just fine here. That's a tack threat in the horizontal direction, and yeah, it forces a capture from black. Yeah, so I'd say filling in at D5 works here for white. No, instead playing up above at C7. That, I guess, white shifting gears, going for the vertical threat? I'm a little confused by that move. I did expect the D5 to be placed, and it looks like gowellja is a little confused by it too. He's taking a bit more time because it was an unexpected move. So he's trying to figure out how to deal with that. I'm assuming now that C7 is placed, black is going to have a much more difficult time playing for this horizontal threat up above. And so white is able to take a little bit of control there. I don't think Abyss is trying to set up some sort of Tinue. It's not typically his style. He doesn't like to set up for Tinues. He instead likes to sort of play for flats from the beginning and sort of make a lot of road threats and force flat on flat captures so we can liberate those captives later. But setting up for Tinues, even though he did do that in his match against NohatCoder, isn't his normal MO. So maybe he's trying to change tactics a little bit. We do see, let's see, what can black go for here? All right, black playing at A5. I think this is probably to allow for black to come down with B6 and make this horizontal tack threat along this line, and also to protect against white making any sort of threats in the vertical direction. I could see white maybe building down below at like B2 or B1, something like that, going in that direction. Potentially building here at D5. D5 I still feel like is a pretty good move here. Not only is it a attack threat, but it also keeps black from being able to make this horizontal threat with just a placement. And that's always good. Don't want to have to make captures unnecessarily. We talk about the do's and don'ts of captures in the captures video of Tak University. White instead playing up at D6, which I don't exactly understand. Okay, I think the idea is... Okay, I think I understand what he wants to do here. If black plays a flat here, white brings 3d4 plus, and that creates the horizontal tack threat and also creates a connection in the vertical direction on this side. So yeah, I can see why he would go for that. Playing at d6. And again, what I was saying was portable tack notation, or PTN. It's off here to the side. It's just the textual way of describing moves in Tak. It's pretty straightforward, but you can check out the video on Tak University for that, titled Portable Tak Notation, or PTN. Black now probably rethinking those previous plans. May decide to... Honestly, I don't know what Black's going to do here. White's in a really solid position. It doesn't look too great. Like, it looks good, but it doesn't look so dominant. But I feel like it's a pretty strong position here for White. And it's deceptively strong is what it is. Now let's take a look at the flat count real quick. Do a quick count. So 11 plus 2 is 13 for Black. 13 for White. If Black does place this here and White brings that capstone up, that's a +2 move, again, FCD, for White. And that would bring White farther ahead. That was a surprising twist. We see Black's capstone move left now. All right. We may see White just move this capstone stack up regardless. It would be a Tak threat, but not nearly as strong as it was prior. That's a good move, moving that capstone over. All right, he does bring that capstone stack up. This is a Tak threat now for White, bringing C6 minus. Would be a horizontal road. Now, if this gets cut off somehow, I could see B6 coming right as an option. No, he throws the wall. Throwing the wall. That was unexpected. I don't know what's going on now. He threw the wall, and that threw me for a loop. And in probably one of the first times ever before move 25, Abyss is up on time. He's at about 6 minutes, gowellja down just about to 5. So that is got to be new territory here for Abyss. He's got a lot of practice, however, playing on the increment. So I'm not quite sure how much practice gowellja has playing on the increment. I know that he has lately been playing a lot of games against some of the blitz bots like Crumbot and Argbot. And while Argbot is a 5x5 bot, Crumbot has recently been shifted to 7x7 in light of this ongoing tournament. So he may have been getting some practice at 7x7 blitz, so he thinks he can maybe play on the increment down with Abyss. All right, let's see. What's a good play here for White? I mean, filling in at C4, not bad. It's not great. Black, I believe has momentum. Okay, he's not filling in. He's going to toss that stack over. Give himself a double stack here, able to come up and capture onto this line. That's a nice safe play as well. You can see black maybe playing up here, maybe putting something down below to interrupt white's ability to make this a vertical threat. Yeah, he does fill in at e6. Now he's going to go for attack threat here, possibly by playing at a6 or b7 on the next turn, maybe even capturing up onto c6 with c5. That would be attack threat for black. Any of those three moves. So I see... If black plays over here, I can see white coming over with the capstone. So white could play down here at b2, for example, and not make a threat, but make a threat on the next turn when defending against black's threat. Ooh, white brings that capstone up. This capstone hasn't moved the whole game. This is the first time this capstone has moved. And it comes up cutting off black's ability to make a horizontal threat here. I was actually just looking at that move, but not for this turn, for a couple turns in the future. Being able to bring that capstone up and cut off black's ability to make that horizontal threat would be really strong. And it looks like Abyss is wasting no time and jumps right into it at the beginning. Black now fills in, placing at a6. This is going for that same sort of horizontal threat that he had going before. This time now he has to make two captures, capturing up with f5 onto f6, also capturing up with c5 onto c6. White free to build, gonna be building up at f7. F7 kind of helps secure this position. Okay, here's the attack threat from black, being able to capture up with f5 onto f6. White can stop that by coming over with the capstone, if they want to do that. Or some other way. Capturing left, but that would be temporary. Capturing down onto g6. But yeah, the capstone left was probably the best move he could have made there. Still like white's position. White now has a couple options for going for vertical threats. Going down on this side on the right-hand half of the board. That could work for him. Building along. Sure, there's a wall there, but you can work around that maybe. Still plenty of time left in the game. Not really on the clocks, but time left in the game based on the amount of reserves each player has. We can see that they're basically... a half of the board is practically untouched. And that's because, I mean, we're only on turn 24. These guys certainly do take their time on their turns. So now we see black filling in here at f3, keeping white from just continuing along in that vertical direction here. White could just continue, play at f2, could play at g3. A lot of different options here. White could also fill in at d4, but that would give black an opportunity to come up with this capstone. Not the best. And this capstone is no longer pinned by any sort of horizontal threat. So white having played here at f2 to continue along this vertical, also being able to play here at e2 would have done that, but black's beat him to the punch. Will white continue along, play at f1, make a capture? Probably not a capture. Abyss does like to avoid these flat-out-flat captures when possible, as is generally advised. Okay, we get the attack threat again from white, forcing a capture from black. How is he going to do it? Is he going to move this wall over, perhaps? The wall moving over would not be able to be smashed by this f5 capstone because that would lead to a horizontal road for black. Both players just about even on time. That wall does come down. I could see white filling in here at e4 to keep black from going for this vertical road threat that it looks like he's building toward. And then e4 also works towards a horizontal line. That would be a threat, actually. No, not a threat. Yeah, e4 would not be a threat, but would be one move away from a threat. Does go for the e4 move. Now we see white building for this horizontal. Filling in here at d4 would be a tak threat for white. Black doesn't want that to happen. Likely going to drop a flat of their own there. White may decide to come down with this capstone onto d4. Or play here at g4 first. As sort of a preemptive strike. Playing at g4 again would be to make this horizontal threat, being able to smash down onto f4 for the final move of creating this horizontal road. I think I'm not sure if I would do g4 here or bring the capstone onto d4. It's tough. They're both solid moves. Playing at g4 first allows this flat to move over and make the threat. So that's not great. Yeah, I think I would do the capstone down first. Abyss now below 3 minutes on the clock. gowellja just below 5. Abyss does bring that capstone stack down. This is not a tak threat for white, but it will be on the next turn. Potentially, depending on what black does here. Black could place a flat here at g4, but then white would play at g3 and make another horizontal tak threat by coming up with f3. Black dropping a wall, ready to cut off that threat right at the beginning. Now, white could make another vertical threat this time by playing over e3 right. Not going to do that. Instead, playing at g4, going for that horizontal threat. Now that black has played that wall, is probably going to bring it down onto c4 to cut off white's hopes of making that horizontal threat. Then we're likely to see white shift gears and go for this vertical. Whether that be by placing at g3 and g5, or going for the e3 right capture. Probably not the e3 right capture. Probably go for placements instead. The wall does come down. How is white going to respond? I was thinking a placement on g3 or g5. Let's see if he does that or something else. Maybe he's got something clever up his sleeve. Or he could decide to play around it up here at c5 or d5 to sort of play around that wall and keep going. It's tough to say. I mean, he had to know that was going to be gowellja's plan when that wall dropped. Abyss down to 2.5 minutes on the clock. gowellja just below 4. Again, we have 20-second increment, meaning they get 20 seconds added to their time after every turn. White uses that double stack here on b4 to throw up, capturing 1-1, making that spread, capturing onto b6. Interesting play. Not quite sure what he's going for there. Ah, now he can smash this wall because this horizontal threat is no longer there. So white can bring f5 down onto f4, smash that without losing to a road right away. And gowellja's probably noticed that already. Decides to drop a wall. This is where white can smash now. Not with this capstone, that would lead to a vertical road. But white can smash onto f4 here. Two minutes on the clock for Abyss. Is he going to go for the smash, or is he going to play something else? Minute and a half on the clock for Abyss. Just over 3 for gowellja. That wall ready to come down, capture onto b6, liberate that captive below, maybe capture here to keep white from making any more positive flat count differential moves. Also allow black to continue making this horizontal line. White decides to play at g3, playing around that wall, going for that vertical line. Playing here at g5 on the next turn would be a tak threat in the vertical direction, capturing right with e3, or placing at g2. He may decide to place at g2 first, as that would allow him to come right and smash on g5 if black were to drop a wall there. So black brings this over, not a tak threat, but it is threatening in this area to cut off some things and cut off some options of white. I think white can play down at g2 and be just fine playing for this vertical threat. Plays at g5 instead. All right, black cuts off that threat. What is the play here? Abyss down below 1 minute on the clock. gowellja just about at 3 minutes. Filling in at f3. Not a tak threat for white. Oh, it is a tak threat for white. Sorry. White coming left with this capstone and smashing onto f4 would be a road for white and also a road for black. That would invoke what we like to call the dragon clause. When one person makes a road for their opponent at the same time they make a road for themselves, it is the active player who wins the game. So in this case, if white were to bring over this big stack of blacks, drop it here onto e4, and smash this wall, creating a road for white and creating a road for black at the same time, white would win because white is the one making the turn. It doesn't happen too often. Dragon claws is a pretty rare thing. We call it the dragon claws because originally in the beta rules, it was said that that instance didn't happen too often and is as rare as dragons. Hence the name Dragon Claws. All right, black comes over with a capstone, stopping that vertical tag threat. White can play maybe at D3 here, start going for the horizontal along the bottom. Does go for the D3 placement. Playing here at A3 or at B4 would be a attack threat for white, being able to smash down onto F4 with F5. Black doesn't have too many opportunities to make any threats right now. Must have been playing on defense for the last several turns. Abyss now above 1 minute on the clock, using that increment to his advantage, and gowellja all the way down to 2 minutes on the clock. gowellja likely very aware of this growing threat along the bottom. Brings that wall down. Maybe planning on throwing this wall all the way down onto B3 if white were to place. Oh, the smash comes first. That was unexpected. I expected a placement first. Now, a capture needs to occur here. He throws the wall down like we were looking at a moment prior. If white plays here at E3, that's another horizontal tag threat. Smashing this doesn't go for that. Instead, brings the capstone stack upward. Why? Just to keep this from being another positive flag on differential move. Maybe, unless there was a threat. No threat. But it would have been bad on the next turn, coming up there, making that threat. That would have been strong. So he's preempting that. Instead of making this play here at E3, smashing this wall here after playing at E3 would have been a road. He can still do that. He can still play here at E3 and make that tack threat. Black currently not making any tack threat, though he is building along here. White decided to place a wall here at B6, ready to come down, liberate those captives. Black brings that stack down away from the wall. White can still bring this wall over onto C6 and make some more positive flat count differential moves. Looks like we're getting into a flat fight here after this capture here and these walls being dropped. $16 for black, including that komi. 13 for white. 52 seconds left on the clock for white here. White playing here at E3. Not a tack threat, but playing here at C2 on the next turn would be. Will he play at C2, make that threat? He is making that vertical tack threat here. All the way from F7 to C1. Black throws that wall over onto D3. White can renew the threat here just by placing at C1. Placing at C1 would renew that vertical tack threat, being able to smash down here onto D3. So playing at C1 is not a bad move here. but white only has 50 seconds left on the clock. gowellja just under 2 minutes. Again, Abyss comfortable playing with that increment, playing down low on time. Decides instead to switch gears, go for B2. Maybe didn't see the opportunity to go for that vertical threat yet again, even though it was there. Switch gears, going for the horizontal. Black now playing up at B7. Looks like just going for flat count here. Just trying to get more flats on the board. White can play now at A2 or B1 or C1. Any of those does make a tack threat. Goes for the A2 placement, going for that horizontal tack threat. Black may decide to bring this wall down, make a capture with flats somewhere else. Maybe capture up here. Maybe capture, no, can't capture with this capstone. That would lead to a road for white. White has a lot of threats going on, but black does have the flat count in their favor. It doesn't look like black has any chance of winning this with a road at this point in the game, but white can win this with a road in the next several turns. There's plenty of threats going around for white, but black looks to be in control in terms of the flat game. Black now approaching Abyss's time. Abyss now at 1:09, and gowellja now below that on the clock. Potentially succumbing to pressure, now below a minute on the clock for gowellja. Brings that wall stack over. Back to the left. White now placing a wall here at B5, ready to come down and capture onto B4 and liberate those captives. Really needs to make some strong positive flat count differential moves here in the next several turns, because black is doing some work in terms of flats. Coming down, coming left, and then coming up would be a strong move. But black would get a lot of opportunities to make other moves in the meantime. White does have a number of moves here for positive flat count differential with this capstone as well. It would give up the threat to bring the whole stack over, but it would open up the opportunity to make a +3 move. Granted, giving away a big stack to black in the process. So maybe just the +2 would be worth it, but that would give this capstone the opportunity to come up. Ooh, it's tough. Tough position for both players. gowellja down to 1:04 on the clock now. Playing up at D7. Trying to go for some sort of threat and just fill in, getting more flats on the board. What is white's plan here? Will white come left and come up for the flat count? Will they come up and to go right for the more threat-like move? Going straight left, there's nothing black can do to stop that that move. White instead plays at C1. Why C1? Is there a threat in the future I'm not seeing? Black now playing at G2, just trying to get flats down in an area where he won't be losing flat count differential moves, I believe. White now playing at G1, wants to capture up here onto G2, I believe, and then threaten this G3 stack, maybe. White seems to be playing some sort of panicky moves here, doesn't seem to have too big of a plan. I think coming left with this big stack is going to do wonders, but maybe saving that move for later when he's more in trouble. Let's do a quick flat count yet again. A1 placed here from black. Is that 21 for black? There's no way I counted that right. Yeah, it's 21. $17, $18 for white. White is in trouble. Okay, I think I see what. Ooh. Black coming up now with the capstone. Coming left would be attack threat for black. White filling at F3 to keep this capstone from coming left. And also to make attack threat. White can take this, the top two flats from F5, bring them left, and that would be a vertical road here. Black sees that, comes left with that stack. Will white make a capture or place here at G3? Placing at G3 would be attack threat for white. That would be a road threat. Down to 34 seconds on the clock for Abyss. gowellja up to 109 now. Does place at G3, making that threat. Look at the reserves of white. White has very few reserves left. Black still has plenty. Black coming up, capturing, cutting off that threat. Let's see, what's the play here for white? White filling in. What is the play here for white? $50 seconds on the clock for both players. Black bringing that capstone up, not making a, oh, not the capstone, this flat stack here, keeping that away from the wall. And white following it with that wall stack, ready to come over and make some positive flat count differential moves. Both low on time, both under a minute on the clock. Feeling the pressure. Black brings that down just to get it away. That is essentially a zero move in terms of flat count. Really just wants that to go away. So 20 now for black and flats. $18 for white. Black playing down, so 21 for black, 18 for white. White getting low on reserves. Might want to make one of those moves over here soon. Bringing this whole stack over, then coming up on the following turn would be good for him. Ooh, and now he's building for this, this vertical threat here at the same time. Black playing up above. So now it's 22 to 19, I believe, if I'm keeping track correctly. White with 3 reserves left. 2 open spots. Black could be going for a board fill here, it looks like. White comes over with that stack, ready to come down, capture, liberate those captives. This capstone is ready to smash, though. Black fills in, b7. Still 22 to 19. Two open spaces. This is, I think he needs to make this move, because he can't place any flats right now, or he loses. He's got to make that move. Come left with the wall. Spread. If he comes left, that's 21 to 19. And if black, oh no, he doesn't go for that. Instead, throws it to the right. Let's see, covers up two black flats and releases two whites. So goes down to 20 to 21. Now white is in the lead in terms of flats. 21-20. I don't know about that move because it also does cut off white's other +2 move with this capstone that they had going. White now wants to make a board fill. Let's see, 21-20. Now it's 20-20. White drops a flat 21-21, or 21-20, I believe. And then the +2 comes over. This is tricky. They're both solo on time. It's going to be really difficult to count and keep track of the flats for them. Okay, we see the wall stack making that +2 move. 30 seconds on the clock for Abyss. $21 for black. White now making a threat. This is a vertical tack threat for white.
Can you open the door?
20 for white, 20 for black in terms of flats right now. 20 to 20. Black missed it. He missed the threat, the vertical threat. White can play here at g4 for the win and the road if he sees it. And he does. White ends up taking this one. That was a stressful game. 57 turns. Feels like half of them were played at under a minute. That was a crazy, crazy, essentially blitz game there at the end. So really, really well played to both players. Congratulations to Abyss for winning this game. That got really nuts there at the end with the crazy low time. Both of you guys underneath a minute for so long, so many turns. Well done again, both players. So, thanks everybody for watching. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAK, especially the TAK Discord server, which is the community hub. You can find all sorts of people to play with online right here on playtak.com, or play them online asynchronously right through the Discord. It's a great place to have all sorts of other TAK resources as well for learning the game, strategy, things like that. So again, thanks everybody for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.